Good morning, brethren. This is Big Judah coming to you guys from California. Before I begin, I'm going to give all praises to the Most High, Yahweh. I also want to acknowledge the earthly mother, who is wisdom, who is the Holy Spirit. I also want to acknowledge Yahweh Shai. I pray that the Most High blesses this lesson and gives more knowledge and understanding and continues to bring everything full circle back around, filling in the gaps of information that we've experienced for the last few hundred years, and brings us back into our heritage, all the way around to our heritage, not only just knowing who we are, but also recognizing and understanding, where our home is, so that we may continue to pray and ask for the Most High to restore the inheritance and the blessing that He promised us. And that was something in the last video I wanted to make sure I really reiterated here today, was that I want to make sure I do the best that I can to, follow the commandments the Most High has set up. And I don't want to mess up here at the end on the last one and praying for someone else's inheritance instead of my own. I think that's a really big point right now. And it all kind of depends on where the Most High leads you. Are we going to continue to pray for an inheritance that the Most High never intended for us to have? Or are we going to pray for the blessing that the Most High has set aside for us? And that's something that each individual is going to need to do. Make that decision, do that research and study, and see where the Most High leads you. That's a big thing at this point, is studying and researching and learning and growing, because you can't leave your salvation in anyone else's hands. You need to put the work in and study and pray and fast and ask the Most High to send the Holy Spirit, in order to lead you into understanding, because that's what most of us do, most of my brethren do, that I work with and talk to. We bounce things off of one another. We study, and we're growing. So if things might sound a little bit different on my channel because, it's different than what I was doing before, it's because the Most High has led me in another direction. He's given me some different knowledge and understanding, and I'm sharing it with you. And if if it's something that you want to study, that's something maybe you should get into. But that just depends on what the Most High calls you to do. All right? Let's go ahead and get into this lesson here. First thing I want to read today, I'm going to read from the Testament of Asher. This comes from the Testament of the 12 Patriarchs. And it's really goes perfect with the situation we find ourselves in this awakening here at the end. It's from the Testament of Asher. It says, "You shall not know your own lands, tribe, or language, but He will gather you in faith through His compassion, and on account of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." And I think that's something that is really, really applicable to the situation we find ourselves in today, because we have been awakened. And in the last video, we talked about how, this awakening, if you go with Baruch 2, follows in line with, as, we've been awakened and given more knowledge and understanding, we've been able to complete or to follow the 10 commandments that were given to Moses. And the last one, of course, is to not covet. And that's like the last one. And we've been coveting someone else's inheritance for for a while, since we've come into this truth. And I think that that's very telling that it was already prophesied that was going to happen. Again, let me read this again from the Testament of Asher. "You shall not know your own lands, tribe, or language, but He will gather you in faith through His compassion, and on account of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." Now, not knowing our own lands is like discontinuing from our heritage. And we're actually going to read about that. Okay? Not only our heritage, is our knowledge of understanding that we're the sons and daughters of the Most High, but there's also promises, and He gave us land, and we're going to discontinue from that as well. We're going to read that real quick here. This is Jeremiah 17:4. And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thy heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever. Now, if you take a look at the precepts there, we're going to get into that real quick with those two precepts of Leviticus 26:34 and Deuteronomy 32:22. Now, when you see things like, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not, it's kind of funny how many people seem to think that it's going to be some land that we just never seen before, that we've never been to before. And if you kind of look here, the Hebrews have, during the time of Shem, Ham, and Japheth after the flood, the Most High gave half of the world to Shem and his descendants. Okay? So then we were also living in the land of Ham because Abraham was actually living under Nimrod's rule. So therefore we would have known Ham's land as well. I'm sure that some of our people had gone into the land of Japheth, but we know that actually, but for sure, we know that Japheth's land was the cold lands. And we know that Ham's was the hot lands. Okay? So, and ours was neither hot nor cold, so ours had seasons. So we take a look here. I got this picture here from one of the sisters. She sent me some information. I like this one right here. I had the black and white one, but as you can see, the Asia part, and you see like half of it, like half the world. And you got the left-hand side is like Euro, and then the right says Africa for Africa. So on the bottom there, you would have had Japheth on the left, and then the bottom right would have had Ham, and it looked like this. In the Asia, they called it Asia, but that was Shem's land. Shem received half the earth. Okay, Japheth here, Europe, and Africa would be Ham, and we lived with a lot of the Hamites. Okay, we were intermingled because, like I said, Abraham was living in the land of Ham. If you go into the book of Jasher or Jubilees, it talks about that. Actually, Jasher. Okay, so there's 3/4 of the earth, and I'm sure we've been into Japheth's land as well. So we had been, all over the place. So there's no lands that we didn't know of, because we were already given, half the world. We were living in Ham's land, so we were intermingled there. So I'm sure we're intermingled also with Japheth as well. So there weren't any lands that we did not know of. It can't necessarily mean this lands that no one knows of. Okay? It's more like this. These were the lands that the Most High gave us. These were the lands that we would recognize. Okay? Lands that look like this. Beautiful. Beautiful nature. Awesome. Just something, to behold. Like this. Living in tune with nature. Things like this. That's what we were used to. When the Europeans came over, they were talking about how beautiful everything was. Okay, so this is what we would have been used to. These are the things that we would have seen, or when we were in charge of the land. But now the land looks a lot different. Okay, again, some more beautiful scenery here. But this is what the land looks like now. Do you think we would recognize the land now? No, not at all, because it looks much different. So this would be like the land we know not, because we don't recognize it, because it's not the way that the land looked when we were in charge, when we had dominion. More land here that we don't know, because, like I said, it looks much different than what we saw when we were in charge. All right. See that right there? It says land that we would not have understood, we would not have, related to, because it looks totally different than what the Most High had given us. So we're talking about land you don't know. This is what it's talking about. Land you don't recognize. All right. Now let's go back over here to Jeremiah and read some of that. Okay. And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee. And that heritage he gave us was the knowledge and understanding of who we are, but it was also the land that he had promised us. That was part of the heritage as well. And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. So yes, so we're going to be serving our enemies in the land that we don't know, and that land is still our land. But since they have dominion over it and they changed everything, we don't know it. We don't recognize it. Okay, for ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever. So let's take a look at that discontinue from thy heritage with a precept that goes with Leviticus 26 and 34. Let's see, Leviticus chapter 26, verse 34. Then shall the land enjoy her sabbaths, as long as it lieth desolate, and ye be in your enemies' land. Even then shall the land rest and enjoy her sabbaths. I've heard a lot of people saying that, well, the land is when it's desolate, it means it's without inhabitants. No one lives there. So then if that is your reasoning, then the land of Israel can't be the land either, because it's not desolate. There are people still living there. They have businesses. They have kids there. They have, cities. They have schools. So, and there's always been someone living in that general area. So the land has not been desolate since we've been kicked out and spread to the four corners. There's been people living there. There are even, some Hebrews that live there. So if their definition is, this can't be the land because it's not desolate because people are living here, well, that still applies to the land that you say is Israel over there in the Middle East as well then. So then that can't be the land either because it's not desolate. And all these other lands can't be it because they're not desolate either because there's people living there. Okay? So we have desolate areas here in America where people don't live as well. So if you're trying to say that, well, there's parts of Israel that no one lives, well, there's parts of here in the Americas, North, South, and Central America, that people don't live as well. So a lot of the same problems or the same arguments that people make against America, you can make the same arguments against, the Middle East. So it just depends on what it is that you're predisposed to believe. And if you want to hear certain things that make you feel like, if you already want to believe that that's the land over there, then you will pretty much, listen to certain people and you will take the things that kind of support your belief. I've believed both because I used to believe that that land was our land for a very long time. And so I started doing more research and understanding. And one of my brothers, I tell him, I said, you're kind of like my Joseph, because he already had gotten into this information for a while. But the Most High didn't choose me to do that. He had me doing something else. And he kept telling me, hey, you need to check this out. You need to look at these books. You need to check out these, these videos. And I just wasn't really moved to do so until, last maybe 3 weeks or so. Most High said, okay, now it's time. So then I started getting into it and studying and everything else. And then I was able to just ask him, hey, what about this? What about that? And, he also, blessed me with another sister who was really, has like a lot of information and on this information as well, on this subject matter as well. And she's been helping me quite a bit as well. And other people have been in this for quite a while, and they've been emailing me and giving me information too. So it's been a beautiful thing how the Most High, has quickened me in order to give me a lot of information when the time was correct. But I was on his schedule, not mine. Okay, I was very comfortable in what I was already doing, but the Most High pulled me out of that comfort level and has now, had me doing something different. So I understand that everything is on his time, not on mine. Okay. So, and if you just read around a little bit, if you read around that Leviticus 26, let's go ahead and continue. Let's look at 32 and 33. Leviticus 26, 32 and 33. And I will bring the land into desolation, and your enemies which dwell therein shall be astonished at it. And that's talking about how, and if you look at the precept from a couple of videos ago, it talks about how, precept talks about how he gave the land to our enemies. And that's what he did. He gave the land to our enemies, and they've taken it, and they've taken the land over, and they've oppressed us and made us slaves in our own lands. And they also, have taken the resources from the land. And that was actually prophesied again in another part of the Bible. So as now that I'm reading, I'm starting to see a lot of other things I never saw before or didn't kind of pick up. But isn't that how it always has been in the truth? How before, when we were in Christianity, we read the Bible and we didn't see all these certain words that meant something totally different. Then the Most High woke us up and it's like, oh my gosh, how did I miss all this stuff? The our Father, our people, our God, and none else. But we didn't see that before until the Most High opened our eyes to see it. And now the same thing with the land, this being our land. All of a sudden now I'm seeing all these different scriptures that have much more deeper meaning and significance that I didn't notice before. Okay. But that's what the Most High does. He wakes you up on his time. When it's time, we could read something 100 times and not get the real true understanding until later on. And that's what he's, been doing with me as of late. Okay. So let's continue with 33. And I will scatter you among the heathen, and will draw you out a sword after you, and your land shall be desolate, and your cities waste. Okay, so our cities, the ones that we had, are desolate, waste, not really inhabited, but the land is still inhabited with people. Okay, and these people have, we're still here working for them for free. So not only do they oppress us, they also oppressed our land. Okay, let's go to 34. Then shall the land enjoy her sabbaths as long as it lieth desolate. The land is enjoying her sabbaths as long as we are not in charge. And the other nations are in charge. She's enjoying her sabbaths. Okay. And ye be in your enemy's land. Even then shall the land rest and enjoy her sabbaths. Okay. So that's what's going on right there. I say in that precept. What is that one? 26 and 34. So we read that one. So let's take a look at the next one, which is Deuteronomy 32 and 22. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 22. For a fire is kindled in mine anger, and shall burn unto the lowest hell, and shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. Excuse me. I was going to put a picture up here, but I didn't have a chance to, of the fires that are going on here in California. And there's something really peculiar that's going on with these fires over here. And there's I have a really good picture. If I get on the next video and I kind of talk about this subject, I'll throw it up there. But there's this picture of this whole neighborhood that is just wiped out, destroyed. The homes are destroyed, burnt to the ground, everything else. But if you look behind the houses, you'll see green grass, trees that have not been touched. And you see that a lot with these fires because these fires are super hot. They're not really normal. And there's all these, there's been all this stuff on social media talking about all these different anomalies that have been going on where these fires are. And I just heard, I don't know if it was in Paradise or somewhere up there, Paradise City, how there's 60 or 80 people that are confirmed dead, but there's over 1,000 people that are missing. And I've never really heard of a fire killing almost 1,000 people. Not like, so it's just amazing to see. And that's the ones that they're talking about right now. Who knows how many other people, might be missing, because it seems like every day the numbers keep on increasing and increasing. So this isn't like a normal fire. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen the pictures where the homes were destroyed, everything's destroyed, but then there's trees and grass that haven't even been touched. So it's amazing to see. And it's kind of like a precursor, because this is going to end up being like a Goshen. how there's going to be a whole lot of things. It says he's going to destroy Egypt like as before, and he's going to protect his people, and it's going to be hell breaking loose all around. A sister sent me this scripture that actually goes along with the fire, which would be a Revelations chapter 9, verse 4. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of the Most High in their foreheads. So you start to hear about all these people that are losing their homes, but like I said, and all this destruction that's going on, and how the fires are acting very erratic, and how hot they are, and things like that. But then you see trees not touched, you see grass not burnt, and then, like I said, the Most High is moving. We can see that He's moving, but I think now that we're going to be able to pray for our inheritance as opposed to take someone else's, that He's going to move that much more. In my opinion, I think that was like one of the last things, because like I said, that's one of the last of the 10 commandments. We start getting in line as far as that is concerned, then the Most High is going to move even more so. But that's just how I see it. We'll see what happens. But He's already moving. There's so much judgment going on, and it's like there was the I don't think the Florence hurricane, it hit. You don't hear anything about it. Michael hurricane hit. You don't hear anything about it. All the hurricanes that we had last year, that hit and were making all this destruction, and you don't hear anything about it. The fires that hit in California last year, they hit, and you don't hear anything about it. They're hiding so much information, because judgment's already here. It's just increasing. And I feel that now with this understanding of this being our land, and except praying for our inheritance here, that will open up the floodgates even more so. But I think that's also like a little mini precursor. I mean, the Most High is able to do whatever it is He wants. So if He wants to destroy everything that's going on, or all the possessions of the people around us, and protect us and protect His land, that's what He'll do. It's not like an all or nothing thing. Well, if He's going to destroy the land, it means He's going to destroy everything. I say he can pick out what it is He wants to destroy and what He wants to keep alive. He's done that before, so he'll do it again. He'll protect, he'll be sending His angels to protect His chosen, even in the midst of hell and destruction all around. And that would be more so what the Most High would do, to show, because people are supposed to know who His chosen are. How much better than if there's destruction going on around, but nothing's going to happen to His chosen. And He said that was what's going to happen. And just like He said in Goshen, how there's just death and destruction all around, but nothing touched His people. And He said this is going to be like the Egypt again, but worldwide. So how much more, magnificent would it be to have the Most High protecting His people worldwide while destruction is happening all around them? Let's get that example in Psalms chapter 91. Let's read that real quick. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. And that secret place would be our lands. It's a secret because no one knew. We didn't know that this was our land. So it was a secret for a time. Now that secret is being revealed. Okay? I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in Him will I trust. Surely He shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover thee with His feathers, and under His wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. You hear that right there? His truth, His understanding is going to be what's going to protect us. Okay? Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day, nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. Only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked, because thou hast made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High, thy habitation. There shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. For he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. They shall bear thee up in their hands, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone. Thou shalt tread upon the lion and adder, the young lion and the dragon shalt thou trample under feet. Because he hath set his love upon me, therefore will I deliver him. I will set him on high, because he hath known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life will I satisfy him, and show him my salvation. That is what the Most High is going to do. And he's given a little example of that when you see these pictures of the fires and you see the destruction of all the things from Babylon. But the things of the Most High, he protected and kept the trees alive and flourishing, and the grass alive and flourishing. When it looks like things are impossible, the Most High makes it, it makes it manifest so you can see that he's in charge, and only the things that he wants destroyed will be destroyed. Okay. Now let's read. I'm going to read something else here from the New Testament, from the book of Luke. I didn't take a picture of it and actually put it up today because we've read this a few times. But we're going to read Luke chapter 21, verse 24. Okay. Let's see. Let's find this picture I want to use here. As we don't recognize, bam, there we go, right there. This goes along with that right there. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. Now, when it says all nations, it doesn't necessarily mean that land masses. It also can mean to different people. All the different people are all different nations as well. And we're going to be under their foot. All right, so we're going to be taking some to different nations, but some are just going to be under the control of other people. All right. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So our land, and Joel says, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Well, our land here is trodden down of the Gentiles. This is an example of it right here. Our inheritance has been given to another, and they control it, and they've been controlling it. And our land has been trodden down by the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be complete. So they're still in charge because they still have their time. It's coming to an end quickly, but they're still in charge. Okay? I'm going to look at that word trodden. So I had looked that up. Let me see. Let me get there real quick. Luke 21, verse 24. All right, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Now, if you look at the word trodden, you can't look that up here because it's not one of those we can press in the Strongs. So let's look up the definition. Let's see. Definition. Okay. Well, we already know it's a past tense, or for tread, a past participle of the word tread. Okay. Walked in a specified way, to walk, to step, to stride, to pace, so that our land's going to be walked on by Gentiles. Okay. Those are some of the synonyms: to walk, to step, to stride, to pace. Okay, set one's foot down on top of. Okay, is not what the Europeans did? They came, stepped foot on our land, put their flag down, and then took possession of the land. That's exactly what they did, correct? Yes, we all know that. I did a couple of videos a little while ago about how they did that. And opened themselves up to a curse because they took someone else's inheritance and try to get us to do the same thing by taking Ham's inheritance over there. Okay, so they also took a look at the other things: to press down into the ground or another surface with the feet, to crush or flatten something with the feet. And that's what they crushed and flattened our land, us, all by coming in and taking possession of our inheritance. Okay, so they were going to be here. Now they're not going to come. If you look at other people's definitions, well, they're just going to destroy it, or they're just going to leave the land desolate. So what you're saying is that they're going to come, take us captive, and then leave all of our lands desolate. They're going to leave our lands empty. Have they ever done that? Our lands aren't empty, so that definition doesn't make any sense. Saying that it's desolate, well, no, the land's not desolate because they're here, as you can see right here in this picture. So is the land just being desolate or being void or without life? None of the lands are. Remember, we were given as Shemites half of the world. Is half the world without people living in it? Is half the world without us Hebrews living in it? Do they only take us into Ham's land, the desert, and take us into Europe? Because if our lands are supposed to be desolate, it's something you really got to think about. If our land is supposed to be desolate, it means empty or devoid of life. Here, that means that half of the world should be uninhabited. Is half the world uninhabited? Because we were given half of the world. Are we only in Europe and Africa? I mean, this is just kind of question you kind of have to ask yourself. If we're not just in Europe and Africa, then we are being, trodden down in our own land somewhere. And if the vast majority of the Hebrews are in North and South America, not in Africa and not in Europe, then that means we are being trodden down in our own land. If you just look at this little map right here. So that would mean that where we're at is our land. Because like I said, most of us are not in Europe and most of us are not in Africa being oppressed at this time for the last 400 years. The last 400 years, most of it has happened in our land over here. Okay? And that's what the prophecy was, like 400 years of being, oppressed. And most of that has happened over here. So most of that has happened in our land. Okay? So hold on, let me go back over here again. There we go. To where the other nations are trodden down our land. Now, there is a precept that goes along with this one, and that is Romans 11 and 25. Let me get that real quick. Romans 11 and 25. For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part is happened to Israel, until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. Let's read 26. And so all Israel shall be saved, as it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. Let's read 27 also. For this is my covenant unto them, when I shall take away their sins. Okay? So as we get more knowledge and understanding, that means that 25 means that the times of the Gentiles is coming to an end. Because our blindness, those blinders are starting to be taken off. Step by step, just like we read in the last video in Baruch chapter 2. Remember ourselves in the land of our captivities. Remembering the ways of our fathers was next. Asking for forgiveness of our sins and our father's sins. That was the third thing. The last thing was then being brought back into the land, which means bring back into the knowledge and understanding of where our land is, so that we may then pray for our land. Pray to be restored in our land. Pray for our land to be restored. And that's the last one. Okay? So it said it's making a lot more sense, well, to me anyways, and I say to a lot of other brethren as well. All right, let's see here. I'll make sure I got everything else. Now, the last thing I want to read today, we're going to read here, is Micah chapter 2. Let me get that real quick here. Maybe. Well, let's read it right here. Micah chapter 2. We're going to just read verses 1 through 4. Okay? Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. Okay? And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. That's exactly what has happened. They've taken two things. They've taken our labor, and they've also taken our heritage, which is also our land. See how that works? They took both. And we talked about that in Deuteronomy. It alludes to that. Okay? In other books as well. When you realize that, you'll start to see it more. It says, just like that. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. That goes with that Jeremiah 17:4, how you're going to be discontinued from your heritage that I gave you. God is going to give us that knowledge and understanding. So he took away that, and he also took away the heritage, which was our land. Let's take a look at that precept there and see 1 Kings 21. That was actually a good one. It was a good example of what's going on there. In 1 Kings chapter 21. We'll start at 2, and we're going to read down a little bit. And Ahab spake unto Naboth, saying, Give me thy vineyard, that I may have it for a garden of herbs, before it is near unto my house. And I will give thee for it a better vineyard than it. Or if it seem good to thee, I will give thee the worth of it in money. So he wants his inheritance. And he's like, I'll give you something else. Give me this. Kind of like what they're doing exactly with us. Hey, I'll give you some of Ham's land. Give me yours. Same thing. Okay. Well, let's continue. And Naboth said to Ahab, The Lord forbid it me, that I should give the inheritance of my fathers unto thee. See, the Most High forbids that. We're not allowed to give our inheritance to somebody else and go take someone else's. Going back to Jubilees. And Ahab came into his house heavy and displeased, because of the word which Naboth the Jezreelite had spoken to him. For he had said, I will not give thee the inheritance of my fathers. And he laid him down upon his bed and turned away his face and would eat no bread. Okay, so just like we said, this whole last thing right here with the land and what you're praying for and what you're asking for. You can't pray for someone else's inheritance. So you're going to give up your inheritance and give it to someone else? The fathers forbade that. That's something that cannot happen. Something will not be allowed to happen. So as we're praying for someone else's inheritance and we're willing to give up our own, the Most High forbids that. Let's read that part again right there. Again, 1 Kings 21:4. And Ahab came into his house heavy and displeased, because of the word which Naboth the Jezreelite had spoken to him. For he had said, I will not give thee the inheritance of my fathers. And he laid him down upon his bed and turned away his face and would eat no bread. So you see how that works right there? We're not allowed to give our inheritance. And if we go take someone else's inheritance, we're leaving ours open for someone else to take. And we can't do that. I said the puzzle pieces are all coming and fitting back together perfectly. Let's take a look at that Isaiah 5:8. Woe unto them that join house to house, that lay field to field, till there be no place, that they may be placed alone in the midst of the earth. So, destruction to those people who put their inheritance with your inheritance and put them together, so therefore you can't tell the difference. Saying that, this is my inheritance, this is my land now. They put their land on top of our land, and now they think that, well, this is not your inheritance anymore. Your land is over there in Africa, in Ham's area. Okay. Now let's go ahead and continue reading. I'm going to go to verse 3 back here in Micah chapter 2, verse 3. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, behold, against this family do I devise an evil, from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall ye go haughtily, for this time is evil. All right. So let's see. E. I'm gonna take a look at E. Well, let's look at D. Matthew 7:2. Okay, Matthew 7:2. Okay, Matthew 7:2 says, "For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged, and with what measure ye mete, it shall be measured to you again." So what you've done to his chosen people is going to happen to you. How you treated his chosen people is going to be how you're going to be treated. Simple as that. We'll take a look at E. Okay, not remove your necks, neither shall ye go haughtily, for this time is evil. I like that. Let's go to Psalms 50:21. Psalms chapter 50, verse 21. These things hast thou done, and I kept silence. Thou thoughtest that I was altogether such as one as thyself. But I will reprove thee, and set them in order before thine eyes. Okay, I'm not going to read all this. Okay, I left them up here so you guys can check them out yourself. But, as you can see, he's going to put everything back in order. He's going to restore his people and their knowledge and understanding who they are. And it's also going to restore their land back to them. That's all part of the inheritance that was taken away. Okay, let's go to 4. In that day shall one take up a parable against you, and lament with a doleful lamentation, and say, we be utterly spoiled. He hath changed the portion of my people. How hath he removed it from me? Turning away, he hath divided our fields. Okay? I mean, it's all right there. We got turned away and he divided our fields. And when he divided our fields, did he work them? Nah, he's not going to work them. He's going to make us work his fields. You see, I mean, if the Europeans came over and took this land, we already know that they didn't do the work. They didn't build it up. Who did he use to build it up? He used us to build it up. So we've been on our own lands, working our own lands, and they've been enjoying the fruits of our labors on our own lands. And that's why I just talked about how he's going to put everything back in order. If you go back to that Psalms 50:21, these things hast thou done, and I kept silence. Thou thoughtest that I was altogether such as one as thyself. But I will reprove thee and set them in order before thine eyes. He's going to reprove them and put us back in order. He's going to give us our knowledge and understanding of who we are. He's going to establish the fact that he's our power, and he's going to reestablish our lands and give them back to us. It's all right there. It's all right there. I like that. We'll just take a look at that H. Change the portion of my people. And that goes with Jeremiah 2:11. Let's read that real quick. Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 11. Hath a nation changed their gods, which are yet no gods? But my people have changed their glory for that which doth not profit. Yep. We said, we were following idolatry. We were following other gods, which don't profit us, and we had to pay the price. Our forefathers did that, and we had to pay the price for that as well. But I thank the Most High that he's awakened many of us to the truth. Okay, and he's given us opportunity to make amends for the sins of our fathers and our sins as well. And he's turning his face back to his people. So it's a beautiful thing to see. But as you can see, there's a whole lot of precepts here. You can check them out yourself. You guys can just pause it and check that out yourselves. So, in closing, the Most High woke us up in the land of our captivities. He then showed us, our ways, the law, statutes, and commandments, how we're supposed to live, so we can get away from these religions and then the stuff that they teach, the paganism. We get away from all of that. Then he gave us the opportunity to amend or atone for our sins and our forefathers' sins. And the last thing he's opening our eyes to now is that this is our land right here. And for us to pray and ask for it to be restored, this land here to be restored back to us the way the Most High had intended it in the first place. He gave us, like I said, half the earth when you take a look at that map and then you go back into Jubilees. He gave Japheth his lands in the cold areas, and he gave Ham his land in the hot areas. They're trying to make us believe that the land over there in Israel in the hot area of Ham is our land, and it is not. And people are welcome to believe whatever it is that they want. If they want to believe that, then that's because the Most High wants you to believe that. If I believe this, it's because the Most High wants me to believe this, because it's all preordained. So, and I gave you plenty of scriptures and precepts you can check out yourself and do some more research. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh. Again, I want to acknowledge my earthly mother, who is wisdom, who is the Holy Spirit. So I acknowledge Yahweh Shai. Have a blessed day. Shalom.